Okay, hi guys. It's been a while since we've had a conversation, I suppose. I just really want to catch up and have a chat about where we are, and also to launch assignment 3. I think we need to probably get cracking on that. If we can aim to get all of the assignments for this module done by the end of term, that'd be great. Now, I'm aware that's just been sprung on you a little bit, so don't worry too much. If you're not going to manage that, we will be able to pick it up next year. But we will obviously want to be moving on to teaching new stuff next year. So the more you can get done now, the better. If you can't get it done or it's going to be a problem, it's fine. Let me know. We'll work around that. But if you can ping me what you've got as soon as, that'd be brilliant. Right, so just talk through assignments 1 and 2 very quickly. They should be done or nearly done. And if you can email me those, that'd be awesome. I sent you a marking grid a while back, and I've just sort of put it up here a little bit. But these are the criteria to mark this. So assignment 1, those are the criteria. What would be a really good idea is if you actually, when you're going through your assignment, is annotate it. If you've got P1 in there, write P1 next to it. If you've got a bit of M4 in there, write M4 next to it. Because that's what I'm going to do when I mark it. So the more obvious you make it for me, the easier it is. But also, it means that you know you're not missing things. If you can't think of anywhere where you've done D2, for example, the odds are it's not in there. And if it's not in there, you need to. Okay, so you can pause this and have a read through of it, but I have emailed you a version of this, and I'm going to put the PowerPoint up as well. Right, ditto with assignment 2. Assignment 2, similar idea. So this is the one where you've examined your evidence. Assignment 1 where you collected it, and you need to make sure all of these things are in there. For the distinction, particularly talk about this reliability and validity. Okay, the pros and cons of each technique. Anything you're stuck on, please give me a shout. Okay, but if you annotate it, it will help. Right, so let's move on. Let's have a look at assignment 3. Assignment 3 is an expert witness statement, and the scenario really is it's a report written by a forensic scientist to present their findings in court. So you've got to put all that stuff in there: who they are, their experience, the analysis they've carried out, and it's important for the defence and the prosecution because it has to be unbiased. Okay, so you're a junior forensic scientist, you've got to produce an expert witness statement. And you need to put a correctly structured, coherent and detailed forensic expert witness statement to present the findings from your analytical examination. So you've got 2 bits of physical, 2 bits of chemical, 2 bits of biological evidence. You've got to present those. So who you are, date of birth, occupation, workplace address, feel free to make up any of that. Okay, use any workplace address. You can put Thomas Lane's down if you want. Professional qualifications, work experience, doesn't matter. Put whatever you want down. But what does matter, the list of exhibits received with the exhibit number, you've got that already, so use it. The results from each examination or analytical technique carried out, an interpretation of those results with valid scientific conclusions, with evidence and scientific reasoning. Now you need to justify those conclusions. Comment on its significance in terms of possible, probable and likely. Talk about that a little bit more in a second. And you can talk about statistical analysis and or literature to assist the court in reaching their decision and suggestion for further analysis to be carried out. Okay, so you're going to produce a witness statement with that information in for 6 bits of evidence. So, to achieve the criteria, you've got to produce a detailed and coherent forensic expert witness statement. Feel free to do it as bullet points. Feel free to do each bit of evidence at a time. This is the evidence. This is the test. This is the interpretation. This is the analysis. This is the justification for that in terms of how likely it is. For the merit stuff, you need to produce one with interpretations of the findings from the analysis of the evidence. And for the distinction, you need to have the scientific conclusions. Now, before you start this, I would strongly suggest you visit this website here. It's very, very useful for a little bit of a read. There are other websites you can use as well, but just give an example. Like this is the website. If you visit it, this is CPS guidance. This is the Crown Prosecution Service guidance regarding what is an expert witness, and it's very, very wordy. Don't read all of it, you'll get lost. But a couple of takeaways from it. The top of it tells us some important stuff. It tells you the definition of an expert witness. So expert evidence is admissible to furnish the court with information that is likely to be outside the experience and the knowledge of a judge or jury. So you are presenting evidence that they won't get. I've done this chemical test means this. They won't understand what that is, so you've got to explain it for them. An expert witness can provide the court with a statement of opinion on any admissible matter called for expertise by the witness if they're qualified to give such an opinion. So you're presenting evidence on the, or you're presenting the evidence that you have found and what that evidence is likely to mean. The duty of an expert witness is to help the court to achieve the overriding objective by giving opinion which is objective and unbiased in relation to matters within their expertise. So you're not trying to prosecute someone, you're trying to provide evidence that the prosecution can use to demonstrate that person's guilt, or that the defence can use to challenge that. You're not saying I found a murder weapon which means he definitely stabbed that person. What you're saying is I found a knife with blood on it which is consistent with this person here, for example. Okay. A bit further on, there were some rules going down there to do with common law and all the rest of it, and the one bit that I picked out of it, save you reading the whole thing. The expert's evidence is reliable. There should be sufficiently reliable scientific basis for the expert evidence, or it must be part of a body of knowledge or experience which is sufficiently organised to be recognised to be accepted as a reliable body of knowledge or experience. Right, what that basically means is you've got to use the relevant science. Everything you say must have a scientific basis. I'll give an example in a sec. The reliability of the opinion evidence will be taken into account the methods used, such as validated lab techniques and technologies, and whether these processes are recognised as providing a sufficient scientific basis upon which the expert's conclusions can be reached. The expert must provide the court with the necessary scientific criteria against which to judge their conclusions. For example, right, that's where we can start looking at a couple of examples. We found, or you found, white powder at the crime scene. Now you may have done some testing at the scene to identify it as a potential drug. You've taken that away. How have you identified that drug? Well, we've done that already in terms of looking at drug testing. We've got mass spectrometry, we've got infrared spectrometry, and we've got NMR spectrometry, and we got those three spectra from the white powder. We've then got those three spectra from the drug, and it looks like that powder was cocaine. Now, you need to convince a jury of that. So what you would do is say, we found a white powder, and when we analyse this using these three techniques, we can see they've produced these three spectra which are identical to or consistent with cocaine. So it's using scientific basis to sort of explain your conclusions. You need to be able to say how likely it is that it's not something else, and if you could briefly talk about the fact that NMR and mass spec and fragmentation techniques give very, very high quality evidence because they are sort of spectral fingerprints. They are unique to a certain type of molecule. Right, so you're saying to the jury, this is the evidence, this is how we know, and this is how likely it is it's something else. Okay, it's not something else because it would look different. Okay, another example, which I'm just going to ping up briefly, is if you found fingerprints. So fingerprints are good quality evidence. Why is that? Because you can say that the odds of somebody else having other fingerprints is incredibly low. If you do a little Google round, I saw odds of something like 1 in 32 million or something like that. But it's established science, and you could sort of quote it as established science. For example, Mike Thomas, head of the National Fingerprint Training for Centrix, says that effectively they are essentially unique and a very high quality evidence. So if you can use sort of stuff that supports your idea that things are high quality, then that's what you need to do, and that's what gets you the distinction standard. So again, I've pinged this out to you. This is what you need to have in there. So Produce a statement. Yeah, that's going to be fairly straightforward. What results did you get? Pretty straightforward. But this is the thing, is interpreting the results and draw valid scientific conclusions. Now, we're not expecting Poirot here, so if you found a knife with blood on it, we're not expecting you to say that such and such definitely stabbed somebody else, and because of the trajectory of the blood, that means they must have done it left-handed whilst hopping on one leg, or anything like that, because that's sort of a little bit beyond the remit. However, if it's got large amounts of somebody's blood on it, you could say this is consistent with it being used as a weapon, and this is the person it's been used with. So make sure you sort of interpret it correctly. But the key thing for distinction is consider the probability of what it means. How likely is it means this versus how likely could it be something else? Okay, that blood, the knife's got loads of blood on it. Why? Has someone been attacked with it, or did they just pick it up and cut their hand? What are the odds? Right, consistent with the amount of blood or whatever, or the other things around the scene. So consider that, particularly in terms of some of the scientific stuff. For example, if you find blood and you say, oh, the blood is O positive, that's consistent with the murder victim, that's fine. Except that probably means about a quarter of the population are also O positive. So that's not very good quality evidence. Whereas, if you've got the DNA is very, very unlikely to be from somebody else. Unless they're an identical twin, they're going to have different DNA. So you need to explain that to a jury. The odds of somebody else having this DNA is almost non-existent because. So that's what you need to do for the expert witness statement. It's summarising what you've done already, and that's what I do. I get you 6 bits of evidence, briefly summarise it, say what the conclusion is based on science, and we're not looking for interpretations particularly in terms of who done it. We're looking for interpretations of, we found this is why we know. So we found cocaine at the scene, or found white powder at the scene, is cocaine because. We found fingerprints at the scene, which establishes that this person was there. Okay, it's not that they'd done something, they were in the room. So if they're denying they were there, well, you've got fingerprint evidence that shows that they were, for example. If it's on a beer bottle, then again, most likely they're in the room. However, it's possible somebody else has just picked that bottle up and brought it in. So you've got to make sure that you are unbiased in considering those options. Okay, guys. So if you haven't finished the other two yet, please do so as quickly as you can and ping them to me. If you're getting really stressed about this, don't worry. Just give me an email. This will all come out in the wash. We will sort this all out sort of over this year and next year. I know it's a very difficult time for everybody, but as much of this as you can do now would be great. So please make a start on this. If we can get everything done by the end of term, that would be awesome. If we don't, or you can't, or you're struggling, we'll worry about that later on. But the more you can do now, the better. Any problems at all, please email me. Other than that, guys, crack on with it, and hopefully see you soon. Take care.